Buena gente, bienvenidos nuevamente en directo. Aquí estamos. Hace minutos estuvimos para un lanzamiento SpaceX y ahora estamos para el amerizaje de una cápsula Crew Dragon. Enseguida iniciamos directo. Ahora en menos 30 minutos y ya iniciaremos oficialmente el directo. Bueno gente, aquí estamos. Bienvenidos todos nuevamente aquí al canal. Bienvenidos todos a un nuevo directo. Y ahora estamos para el retorno de la cápsula Crew Dragon de SpaceX, la cápsula de la misión Crew-6. ¿Por qué me bajó a 30 FPS el directo de repente, de la nada? Es por esto, ¿no? Adivino. Parece que sí. Ahora ahí volvemos a la animación. Y bueno, ahora sí, está yendo bien. Aquí estamos. A menos de media hora del amerizaje de la cápsula Crew Dragon. Ahí tenemos a la derecha, como dice, NASA directo y... No, perdón, a la izquierda, NASA directo y a la derecha, animación en directo. A ver, estamos prontos para ver el amerizaje de la cápsula Crew Dragon, la C-206 de SpaceX. Ahora sí estamos en YouTube, estamos aquí en YouTube, nuestra plataforma favorita. A ver. ¿Qué tenemos? Se me carga la actualización en directo, ahí está. Por cierto, ya se realizó el encendido de salida de órbita. Ya se separó el trunk. El nose cone ya se ha cerrado. Y ahora mismo en minutos se iniciará la reentrada.
Alright, Steve, we see blackout start at 0404, blackout end at 0411, and splashdown at 0417. No update to vehicle status. Weather still looks good. How copy?
Vale.
0404,
Alto, mientras tanto estamos...
17, weather still looks good. And I think that copies it all. Thank you.
Good readback. One more note, we noticed prior to the burn, a few of the tablets were not secure to the
A
satchel.
ver,
I'm hoping that you
estoy notando que me está yendo lag. ¿Por qué? Por la multicam.
secure.
Pues eliminamos la multicam. Bueno, estamos a 27 minutos del amerizaje de la cápsula Crew Dragon de la misión Crew-6. Esta está en 720, sí, está la máxima calidad que la NASA admite. Ahora mismo está en vuelo la segunda etapa de la misión de SpaceX, de la misión Starlink que disfrutamos hace unos minutos en directo.
So for us, we would expect that to be at 9:04 p.m. Pacific, 12:04 p.m. Eastern, and lasting until the 11-minute mark there. So just slightly, actually no, right on time. We did say about a 6 or 7 minute loss of signal. Splashdown time remains as we originally were targeting that 9:17 p.m. Pacific, 12:17 a.m. Eastern.
And you can just see just how quick in succession everything is. From 9:04 to 9:11, we go from 70.
El despliegue de los satélites Starlink está programado para ahora. Para justo ahora, las 3:52 UTC. Ahora son las 3:51 UTC. Y a ver si SpaceX confirma. No creo que confirme aquí en el directo porque esto es una misión independiente. Pero a ver si confirma en Twitter la separación de los 21 satélites Starlink. Estoy pendiente ante las actualizaciones tanto de esta misión como la de la misión Starlink. A ver acá. Vale, son dos eventos muy pegados en tiempo. A ver. Starlink 612, la cargo por ahí. Ahí estamos. ¿Qué puedo comentar? Ahí tenemos actualización de Teo en la web, que dice: durante la reentrada se esperan temperaturas de hasta 1650 grados Celsius. El escudo térmico de la Crew Dragon está hecho de una sustancia llamada mica X, que es un metal cerámico ablativo. Esto significa que el material se ablanda y se vaporiza cuando se calienta, lo que ayuda a disipar el calor.
So we've mentioned before that our anticipated loss of signal is coming up at 9:04 p.m. and will last about 7 minutes until 9:11 p.m. Pacific time. This occurs on all of our Dragon reentry missions. It is pretty standard and expected.
Buenas, Teo, bienvenido al directo.
To send any telemetry to the ground or be commanded from the ground, including no communications, which is why we call it a communications blackout. So the reason for that being, as we've said a couple of times, the heat shield located at the bottom of the capsule will be doing work as it encounters that friction from the atmosphere as it re-enters.
Estamos, a ver que no tengo la cuenta acá. Estamos, ahora sí, a 23 minutos del amerizaje de la cápsula Crew Dragon. Ahora en minutos pondremos la multicam con la animación de la trayectoria que está realizando la cápsula.
All around Dragon to help protect it.
Quizás si vemos que me baja a 30 fps, pasaremos
Reach about
a utilizar
degrees or thereabout during this reentry phase. So
el mapa en 2D.
that being said, it does make for a great view. If you live in Central Florida, you will definitely be able to see Dragon streaking across the night sky. Really, if you look up, you won't be able to miss it.
Now, of course, once Dragon splashes down, and we did get that read very recently up to the crew that we're right on target for that 9:17 p.m. Pacific, 12:17 a.m. Eastern Time splashdown off the coast of Jacksonville. The recovery teams are already staged. We got word that the recovery vessel named Megan is out there. That'll be the one that actually lifts the Dragon capsule up from the water. There's also fast boats and jet skis and whole teams really ready to go to support the recovery operations. We've supported many nighttime landings or splashdowns in the past, and so they're very used to these operations. Dragon has systems built into the outside of the capsule that allow for flashing lights and a lot of calling of attention to itself to make sure that the recovery teams can easily see it.
Bueno, cuando SpaceX acaba de confirmar que se separaron los 21 satélites Starlink de manera
And find and of course recover the Dragon capsule. And so those teams will go out. They'll perform a sniff. That's actually the first thing that'll happen is the fast boats will circle the vehicle and just make sure that the Dragon capsule itself is safe to approach. There's dedicated teams that go out and make sure there's no leaking of nitrogen tetroxide or any hazardous materials before the rest of the teams move
O sea
in
que la misión Starlink ha sido exitosa.
now to support the operation.
Yeah.
Increíble. Muy loco esto que está haciendo SpaceX.
Our recovery vessel Megan. And
A ver.
those teams are stationed about
Marcarlo como completado y exitoso. Ahí está.
splashdown site. So
Ya mandé la actualización a la web
favorite but frustrating parts of splashdown
y
after we see the capsule actually land in the water and we see
pasaré a cerrar esto.
released and splashdown as
Esto
well.
me lo dejo abierto.
Wait for the recovery
El
vessel
Twitter
to trudge
me lo
those
puedo
miles,
dejar abierto
and
y esto lo cierro.
the fast boats approach the
Esto lo cierro, esto también.
slower than
Y pasaremos a poner la multicam con la animación.
and perform as you said.
Ya empecé a notar que me bajó los FPS, así que haremos así.
Yeah, and we've seen lots of improvements just because we're talking about Crew-6 right now. So this is not just a 6 mission. We've also done this with the demonstration mission with Bob and Doug, demo 2.
A ver si puedo hacer que vaya bien esto.
And so the recovery teams have become much more efficient and have lessons learned along the way. So the recovery operations we've seen just get a lot faster overall.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've done nighttime splashdown operations for Crew 1, Crew 2, Crew 3, Crew 5, as well as Axiom 2. Just
right.
a couple months
No, me sigue a muy bajo FPS.
actually had more
Pues la terminaré deshabilitando y quedándome con esta.
crew missions.
Una lástima, no sé, necesito ver por qué me va a esos FPS.
And it is a good nod to make sure that we
De hecho, ahora voy a intentar solucionarlo.
Mission 1 and 2, of course, Inspiration 4. So there's a lot of practice with the recovery operations in these teams. Of course, we have the views here of the flight operations teams here in Hong Kong
Vale.
that are monitoring the Dragon's re-entry. Again, we've successfully performed a deorbit burn, so we're just waiting for that entry interface that's coming up at 9:04. So really just 7 minutes from now, and that is the beginning of the blackout period. That's when the Dragon capsule starts to experience the molecules of the atmosphere a lot closer, so that it experiences much more friction, and we start to see that plasma build up, and it provides a significant amount of drag and shaves a lot of velocity off of the Dragon capsule right now, traveling about 17,000 miles an hour, and through the 7-minute period of blackout where there is that plasma buildup, where we are traveling through the more
Bueno,
denser
no voy a intentar solucionar nada de que es peor.
slowing down significantly. We'll get
Estamos hasta menos de 18 minutos aproximadamente.
they said was the
Parece que todo sigue nominal, parece que todo sigue según lo previsto.
from the crew.
¿Qué más podría comentar?
That will be
A ver,
down to 350 miles
ya me
an
estoy medio durmiendo, van a ser la 1 de la mañana.
We hear SpaceX Core start reaching out to the crew about 1 minute early. There have been some instances where we've been able to regain communications with the crew a little bit earlier than originally anticipated. So probably around the 9:10 p.m. Minute mark Pacific, I should say, we might start hearing SpaceX Core hail the Crew-6.
And it could go in the other direction too. This is, of course, an estimate based on the predicted plasma buildup and the predicted comms blackout. But of course, there could be another minute or so before they regain comms, and that's all built into the timeline. We'll hear those checks go up on Dragon to ground, and they'll continuously call the crew.
SpaceX Dragon, tablets are secure, straits are tightened, visors are down.
Copy Dragon, tablet secure, restraints
A
tightened,
ver.
and visors down. With that, we are 5 minutes until the predicted comm blackout. Dragon Endeavor, see you on the other side at 0411.
0411, we'll talk to you then.
All right, that was the voice of
Bueno, se vienen los famosos 7 minutos de terror,
letting us know that
donde la cápsula estará reentrando en la atmósfera.
that were prior to now they were located and strapped onto their legs outside of the spacesuit. So those are now put away, and they have also closed the visors. So the last time we saw the crew inside the capsule, their visors were up. They've now closed the visors, and that provides really a leak-tight environment for the crew during this dynamic phase of reentry. For those of you that have recently joined over the last 45
Una
minutes,
cosa que tengo que poner esto acá.
shooting step by step the deorbit sequence, starting with the releasing of the claw, which is what was connecting the Dragon capsule to the trunk being the unpressurized section that is jettisoned in order to reveal the heat shield located at the bottom of the Dragon spacecraft. So we released the claw, the trunk separated. We then performed a 16-minute long deorbit burn. We've also slewed or reoriented.
Vale, no se viene la reentrada aún, pero en minutos. En minutos sí. Por cierto, podrá ser vista en la parte sur de México. Así que si hay alguien desde ahí, la puede ver. 5 minutos para la reentrada atmosférica, nos indica Teo. La cápsula Crew-6 entrará en la atmósfera a una velocidad de 27.000 km por hora, provocando la generación de plasma debido a la fricción. Esto ocasionará que la nave espacial no tenga ningún tipo de comunicación con el centro de control de misión. Una vez superado esto, el equipo de control verifica nuevamente las comunicaciones. Después de pasar la entrada atmosférica, la nave libera los paracaídas Draw a una altitud y velocidad adecuadas. Esto reducirá la velocidad a 560 km por hora. Bueno, básicamente eso es lo que va a pasar, o sea, lo próximo que va a pasar. Ahora mismo se va a perder, bueno, ahora mismo no, en 5 minutos cuando inicie la reentrada se va a perder la comunicación con la cápsula y ahí inician los famosos 7 minutos de terror.
Of the vehicle, we'll see those drogues. There's 4 main parachutes that allow for a safe landing. The parachutes are designed with that fourth in mind, so that even if the fourth were not to inflate all the way, 3 could actually provide enough resistance to properly decelerate the Dragon, so that it lands right on time and provides a normal amount of drag on the vehicle to get us down to that 15 miles an hour at the expected time. The views we're seeing now are, of course, of the flight operations team here in Mission Control in Hawthorne. We'll soon hopefully be getting some views from the recovery vessels out in the Atlantic Ocean. That's the recovery vessel Megan, as well as the recovery teams on fast boats and jet skis. We should be getting views hopefully from the Atlantic Ocean to see the Crew-6's entry through the atmosphere.
I was trying to look through my notes.
La cápsula Crew-Dragon ya empieza a pasar por parte de México, pero no está reentrando aún, ¿o sí? No.
those drogue chutes help provide additional slowing and stability for the Dragon capsule as it comes out of that atmospheric reentry. And I forget what factor it is that if we didn't have the drogue parachutes, I think it's something like the main parachutes would have to be manufactured to be 2 to 3 times stronger, which of course would add weight to the capsule itself. And in spaceflight, everything is weight. You want to minimize the weight that you're taking. So those drogue chutes are definitely small but mighty in the job that they have to do. Now we're under a minute away from that, or just a couple seconds rather, away from that anticipated loss of signal, or LOS. This will be a 7-minute period in which we were unable to communicate with the crew, and we were unable to command.
Que viene el amerizaje en minutos. Ya inició los 7 minutos de terror.
Okay, we're in that loss of signal. The clock starts now, right on time, 9:04 p.m. Pacific, 12:04 a.m. Eastern. That starts the 7-minute clock of the anticipated communications blackout. Kate, as you mentioned, the teams here in Mission Control in Hawthorne may start reaching out to the crew a little early. The crew themselves may see an acquisition of signal from their own data and call out to the teams to let them know that they're outside of the blackout. It could be intermittent too, so there's a lot of different factors, but the key here is communication, and they'll continue to talk to make sure that they are relaying they, meaning the crew, are relaying the information to the teams here in Mission Control Hawthorne, and of course the Hawthorne will be able to respond.
Right. So for those of you that have just recently joined us, at this point we have entered a communications blackout period, a loss of signal, or LOS, and lasts approximately 7 minutes due to plasma formation.
En efecto, ahí SEO nos informa que ya se ha perdido la señal con la cápsula. Así que estamos a la reentrada. Esperemos que todo suceda según lo previsto.
But as a reminder, Dragon is designed to fly itself. During this reentry, the vehicle will be slowing down from orbital velocity, which is about 17,000 miles per hour. And the top temperature that Dragon will experience upon reentry is about 3,500 degrees Fahrenheit. As we've mentioned before, this expected blackout period is, we anticipate it to last about 7 minutes. It might be a little bit less, it might be a little bit more.
Desde Florida va a ser un show, porque se va a ver desde todo Florida la reentrada de la cápsula Crew Dragon. La va a ser brutal.
Acquisition of signal, which is AOS.
That's right, and the last read up to the crew prior to their entry and the beginning of the blackout period, we were still tracking an on-time splashdown. Again, for those following along, that's 12:17 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:17 p.m. Pacific Time.
We are now within the atmospheric entry phase of the return for the Crew-6 crew. Once again, the plasma buildup on the exterior of the capsule.
Bueno, ahora mismo la cápsula está pasando por uno de los sitios que estaba reservado para aterrizar. Porque recuerden que se reservan varios sitios, pero al final se opta por el mejor. Ahí llegan a capturar imágenes. Ahora mismo estaría pasando por encima de Florida. Bueno, aún no. Y ahora sí, tendría que estar empezando a pasar por encima de Florida. O sea, me imagino, estoy viendo desde Cabo Cañaveral, pueden tomar muy buenas imágenes. De hecho, Spyfly Now de seguro está en directo, mostrando imágenes, a ver. Spyfly Now.
So if you're following along of our coverage and you are in southern Mexico or the Yucatan Peninsula, there is a chance, depending on the weather that you have down there.
Acá tienen sus imágenes.
Beginning of the entry interface, we're now about 4 minutes in of a 7-minute blackout period.
So, vamos a pasar a
This is a great graphic
a
just said over
a
the Gulf of
Media TV.
Mexico, across across the Yucatan of Peninsula of Mexico. So if you're tuning in from Central Florida, head outside right now, look up, because if and
Ahí tenemos imágenes desde las cámaras de la NASA.
That's right. This is a high altitude aircraft that has thermal imaging, so we're able to get some of those views.
Wow, wow.
of the
Y ahí
Dragon
empieza a ver la reentrada de Space Flight Now.
Again, we're about 4 minutes in. We have a tally-ho on the vehicle from the WB-57. And actually maybe about 5 minutes in at this point. So maybe a little bit more.
No puedo poner
There's some
el video porque
predicted 7-minute time period.
voy a
It's not
tratar.
exact.
Te va a trancar un poquitito, un segundito, pero es nada, es rápido.
So as we were saying, if you're in Central Florida, head outside right now.
Aceptar.
You should be able to
Y
see
esta otra, eliminar. Sí.
crossover
Vale.
as we are targeting.
Tenemos el multicam.
I was just mentioning, that's a live view.
Transición.
This is heading towards the
Em,
Atlantic coast of
Voy a quedar acá. Ahí tenemos imágenes desde la NASA.
beautiful
Y desde la derecha,
striking
bueno, me salta un anuncio.
we have for these nighttime
A ver, omitir anuncio.
Recovery teams are
Dije
in
omitir.
position off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. And we are still targeting our expected splashdown time of 9
Ay, ¿por qué se me trancó todo?
a.m. Pacific, 12:17 a.m. Eastern. We only have about a minute and some change of this blackout period anticipated. And
Sí,
again, there's
que tenía excelentes imágenes, pero
from the crew.
no sé por qué no me deja ver. Ahí está. Bueno,
So at this point, we're going to hear SpaceX Core begin to hail, as Gary said.
ahora repasaremos las imágenes que tomaron, que las llegué a ver yo.
So we're now beginning to reach out to the crew to see if we've regained that communications
Bueno,
capability.
ahí se ve.
Dragon SpaceX ComCheck.
What you're seeing on your screen now is a live view of the thermal cam on the WB-57.
Allá vemos. A la derecha abajo es la reentrada.
A healthy flight computer. Expect
Ahí tenemos de imagen de la NASA, la reentrada.
There's our live view of the crew, our
Es
first
que
view
voy a volver atrás en el directo de Space Flight Now.
at this point in time.
Voy atrás
they are
unos
entering
minutos.
through the Earth's atmosphere over the coast of Florida, heading
3
towards
minutos por ahí, ¿no?
Jacksonville, Atlantic coast. Up next will be the deployment
Capaz
of the
que
drogue
era
parachutes,
menos.
which should happen in about 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes.
Acá. Miren esa imagen
See, they got through some of
de
the
la reentrada.
and that plasma buildup is starting to dissipate. We have about, less than 2 minutes or so.
Dragon SpaceX GPS converged. Expect nominal altitude for drogue chute deploy.
Es que, wow, brutal la imagen. Por cierto, hay comunicación con la cápsula ya.
The crew know that they can expect to have the initial parachute deployment, that is the drogue parachutes, and that those typically deploy about 18,000 feet. At that point in time, the capsule is going around 350 miles per hour.
Some of the data and telemetry from Dragon is in meters, so if you do hear those calls from the crew and from us, some of the telemetry we're seeing,
El GPS está esperando la altitud nominal para el despliegue de los drones.
confirmation that seat rotation
Vale, y ahí estamos cargando la
the
animación.
crew to be in the proper position to take the
A ver
loads
si
of
si
the
no se laguea.
as they experience the G-forces that the chutes exhibit upon
Sí se laguea.
deployment. They provide
Así que
some drag.
volveremos con
And again, we're
el
traveling
directo que
50
teníamos.
miles an hour. So from here, with the drogue deployments,
Al menos descubrí de qué es la animación, lo que hace que se me lague todo.
drogue deployment coming up in approximately 20
Dragon,
seconds.
brace for drogue window.
O sea, que se me bajan los FPS bastante. Bueno, acá ya lo que tenemos es el directo de la NASA que están tomando.
From that drogue deployment, SpaceX Core just telling the crew to prepare for the deployment of those drogue parachutes. At this point in time, they are around, or when the drogues are deployed, they're traveling around 350 miles per hour. At the time that the main parachute
Muy linda reentrada.
seconds later, they'll be going around 120 miles.
La verdad que al pasar sobre todo Florida ha hecho que se haya visto genial.
For the capsule, prior to those main parachute deployments.
Drogue pyros.
Ahí tenemos el despliegue de los paracaídas drogue.
Drogue shoots. 2 drogues.
It's a view from inside the parachute bucket.
Dragon nominal descent rate and recovery team reports a visual on 2 healthy drogues.
SpaceX Dragon copies, that's good news.
Should see drogue shoot jettison here
Y
momentarily.
ahora mismo se vendrá el despliegue de los paracaídas de aterrizaje.
Be
Estos son
released
los paracaídas frenados y ahí tenemos
like so.
despliegue de los paracaídas de aterrizaje.
Now deploying.
At this point in time, Dragon has saved all of its propulsion systems and is now has already terminated that nitrox suit and cabin purges. Those were helping to keep
Parece que todo sigue,
cool during the
parece que todo sigue en nominal según lo previsto.
4 very beautiful and healthy main parachutes.
Dragon, we see a nominal descent rate on 4 healthy mains.
SpaceX Dragon copies and SpaceX Dragon coming up on the way.
Lo siguiente será el amerizaje.
There's that confirmation.
Copy 1,000 meters.
Confirmation.
Por cierto,
Those 4 healthy
novedad sobre Starship. Se ha emitido un aviso
now standing by.
naval, o sea, un aviso marítimo en referencia al lanzamiento de un cohete para México por cerca de la zona de Starbase. Posiblemente este aviso es entre el 8 de septiembre y 13 de septiembre, así que no sé, podemos estar a muy poco del lanzamiento orbital. No sé, hay que esperar la licencia de la FAA. De hecho, ahora en un rato, ya cuando finalice el directo, lo agregaré a la web que tenemos un timeline con todo lo que hay de Starship.
600 meters, and the descent rate is as predicted, meaning we're targeting that splashdown time in about a minute.
Live view of Dragon Endeavour with the Crew-6.
Cuando la cápsula está a los 600 metros de altura. Nos confirma Teo.
By 4
Ya se viene el amerizaje, ya en breve.
Dragon, we see 400.
A ver.
We're now about 400 meters above the ocean surface.
SpaceX Dragon 200 braced for splashdown.
Copy, braced for splashdown.
Ya el amerizaje se vendrá en breve.
In the position to take the loads of re-entry and parachute deployment as well as splashdown. The crew is braced. We are inside 100 meters.
Todo listo para amerizar.
Dragon Endeavour continuing its slow descent. There we can see splashdown on screen. Those
Y amerizaje.
then cut and released.
Tenemos el amerizaje confirmado de la cápsula Crew Dragon Endeavour
Dragon Endeavour has
en
now
su
returned
cuarta
home.
misión. La
Astronauts
cuarta misión de esta cápsula, amerizaje exitoso.
and Andre Fediaev
Los 4 astronautas han regresado sano y salvo a nuestro planeta, luego de una estancia de 6 meses en la International Space Station, o Estación Espacial Internacional en español.
After a 17-hour return journey from space, Crew-6 is home.
So the teams have been ready and waiting about 3 nautical miles away, so it's going to take them about 30 minutes to make their way to Steve, Woody, Sultan, and Andre inside the Dragon. You can see the recovery forces in some of the views that you're seeing. Of course, these views being provided by...
Estoy mirando imágenes de que han salido sobre la reentrada y no, brutal. Brutal imágenes.
Copy, Stable 1. Dragon Endeavour, on behalf of NASA and SpaceX, welcome back home. Thank you for flying SpaceX.
Thanks, SpaceX. Endeavour, we greatly appreciate all the support from all the initial training through the launch, throughout the mission, keeping us abreast of all the status of the vehicle, and all the support all the way down. This has been incredible, greatly appreciated, and look forward to working with you all again.
Bueno, si no comento mucho, que acá es tarde, es el tercer directo de cabo hoy y no sé qué comentar. Bueno, ahí los equipos de recuperación de SpaceX están aproximando la cápsula.
SpaceX Dragon copies, we'll just enjoy the wallowing here. Might be seething through, maybe I'll be napping soon.
So there we just heard SpaceX Core just indicating to the crew that we're going to do some checks here. Here from Mission Control Hawthorne, we're going to do some system checks to make sure that everything is safe as necessary on the Dragon Endeavour capsule. They will then give the go for safe approach to the teams there that you see on your screen in the fast boats. One of those boats will focus on recovering the parachutes from the water. The other will begin inspections, a sniff test for those onboard propellants, nitrogen tetroxide and monomethylhydrazine. They are toxic if someone were to breathe them, so we definitely want to ensure the safety of the entire recovery team as well as the crew. So one of the teams in the fast boats will perform a sniff test using devices while wearing personal protective equipment to ensure that none of those propellants have leaked out and that there's no vapors lingering from, just many minutes ago when those thrusters were actually firing back in space.
Precisely. Now this is the 4th splashdown of Dragon Endeavour and completes the 4th mission, Crew-6, splashing down right on time, 12:17 a.m. Eastern Time, 9:17 p.m. Pacific Time. We're getting views from the recovery vessels that are out many nautical miles away from the coast of Jacksonville, Florida. And the crew and teams here in Hawthorne reported a stable 1 position. That just notifies that the capsule is in the ideal position, floating in the Atlantic Ocean there, upright. With the heat shield,
nueva misión Crew 100% exitosa por parte de SpaceX y la NASA.
As you mentioned, this is the 4th splashdown for this particular capsule. Most recently, it supported Axiom 1. Prior to that, Crew 2. And prior to that, Demo 2. So this capsule...
Los astronautas pasaron 186 días en la International Space Station, la Estación Espacial Internacional.
Part of my day job to go inside the capsule while we were
el amerizaje fue a las 4:17 UTC y no sé qué más comentar.
Demo 2 mission, I just remember being inside this capsule and thinking,
Dragon, SpaceX, we are go for recovery personnel to approach the capsule. Expect fast boats alongside in just a few minutes.
Vale, dan el go para iniciar la recuperación de la cápsula.
All right, good news there from Mission Control, letting the crew know that everything checked out from a systems check, and the team there on screen in the fast boat now has the green light to approach and begin performing these sniff checks for those vapors for the onboard propellants. So just to conclude my thought, it's always great to see this capsule fly and land, and it just makes me so
La cápsula amerizó hace 6 minutos en las costas de Florida, que de hecho para los que se incorpora alguien ahora, la cápsula se vio desde todo Florida, se llegó a ver, y la verdad que las imágenes de que hemos visto han sido muy muy buenas.
Successful flight of Endeavour. So after those hypergol checks, Dragon teams, well, actually, we may see some of the team members crawling.
Ahora mismo el equipo de recuperación está trabajando para recuperar la cápsula y sacar los astronautas de la misma.
The Dragon out of the water into what's called the Dragon's nest, and that allows the capsule to be positioned and stable on a boat and allow the some of the personnel on board that boat, that ship, to open up the side hatch. We were talking about the side hatch a little earlier. That has remained closed through the duration of the mission. The last time it was open was on launch pad 39A, as some of the teams were preparing Steve, Woody, Sultan, and Andre for their launch to the International Space Station and the beginning of their expedition of science, maintenance, and upgrades aboard. Now it'll be opened again here very shortly. It does take some time, so it could be 30 minutes to an hour before we actually see them on the boat and they start egressing the capsule. But we'll provide coverage until they're safely aboard the recovery vessel Megan, and all 4 crew members have egressed Dragon.
So this image that we see here was taken just minutes ago, a beautiful capture of the moment when Crew-6.
Ahí tenemos una tremenda imagen tomada desde el centro espacial Kennedy. Bueno, desde Cabo Cañaveral, el centro espacial Kennedy está por allí. No sé si ve el puntero. Aunque bueno.
Now, of course, we have
no se ve el puntero.
there that are executing these operations. We can actually see some of the personnel there. We do have a public affairs officer on recovery vessel Megan, Courtney Beasley, who is standing by and watching the operations unfold and providing some coverage from there. I'll do a comms check with Courtney Beasley, who's there via satellite phone. Courtney, can you hear us?
Gary, I have you loud and clear. How do you hear me?
Loud and clear. Courtney, we were very jealous, and we were talking a lot, Kate and I, about the views of Dragon's re-entry through the atmosphere and the plasma trail and the landing, of course, in the Atlantic Ocean. I can't imagine a person who had a better view than you. From your perspective on recovery vessel Megan, how was that landing?
Vale, por cierto, mientras estoy acá en directo, estoy actualizando el lanzamiento Starlink en la web, que ya lo marqué como exitoso.
Starting when it broke the horizon, we heard the sonic boom loud and clear and tracked the spacecraft all the way down through splashdown.
SpaceX,
There's something
hypergol
beautiful
sweeps
about a
and
nighttime
unfired ordnance
splashdown.
checks
The
nominal.
only thing lighting the
Rigging
sky
Bueno.
tonight is the moon
Approximately 25 minutes
returning
until
back home
capsule
to Earth.
lift. Stand by for a
Now, one
PMC
thing we
with
were-
the SpaceX flight surgeon on the ship.
Yo creo de que me iría retirando de directo, que el sueño me está matando. Realmente me estoy durmiendo acá. Pero bueno, tuvimos un muy buen amerizaje. La cápsula ha amerizado de manera exitosa. Y bueno, esperemos que bueno, los astronautas consigan salir bien de la nave. Y bueno, no sé si Teo seguirá con las actualizaciones en la web. Que bueno, de que hoy Teo está encargado de la cobertura desde nuestro sitio web. Así que bueno.
Yeah, Gary, it's about 80 degrees out here right now with fairly clear skies. Like I said, we were able to track that spacecraft pretty good tonight. About 9-mile-an-hour winds out of the east.
Así que bueno, gente. Me voy retirando. Espero les haya gustado el directo. Perdón por la calidad, ahora porque me estaba durmiendo. Hoy por la calidad en X. Y ahora porque yo me estaba durmiendo. Aterrizaje, bueno, amerizaje exitoso hace 11 minutos. Y nos encontraremos en el próximo directo, que hay por ahí un Astra 5 y otras misiones más. O por ejemplo está pendiente el lanzamiento de la Starship. Y bueno, me retiro, gente. Gracias por estar. Adiós.